Okay. So we should be live. Give this a moment. Shut everything else down that I don't need. And let's get over to Inkarnate. Over to live chat. Remember. Yep. Okay. Got a confirmation from YouTube that it's live. Let's go ahead and take a look. So Inkarnate has a new top-down battle map style they're going to take a look at. This is a map that I actually built just kind of as a test, just to see what it looks like. I really like the style. It's definitely not the same as DungeonDraft style, which is a little bit more on the cartoony side. It's not super realistic, I guess. It's still drawn, but it's a little darker. What's up, Chris? Hello, Vin. Hey, what's up, Vin? It's nice to see you. You always show up. And if anybody's got questions or anything like that, let me know. I do have Foundry open. I did download also the new pack from Tom Kartos. So I've got that in here, and we can go and look through some of those if any of y'all want to see what they look like before downloading them. Coming in quiet. Okay. Give me 1 second. Trying a slightly different mic positioning. There we go. That should be closer. Which is a good start. So let me know if that sounds any better, and if it doesn't, I'll actually go in and like boost the sound a little bit more. Hey, Lister. How's it going, man? Actually, I guess with Lister, I might be making certain assumptions. Hello. Whichever pronoun preference. Hey, Crimson Photog. Nice to see you too. How's everybody doing tonight? One thing that I don't like about these maps, and actually I've seen this with a bunch of maps, is that sometimes the ocean water style will be the exact same as like a lake water style, which seems to me like it should be something a little bit different. Still a little bit quiet. Okay, let me go into my filters. Oh, for some reason there we go. Okay, so now it should be much more audible. For some reason, I normally have a plus 12 dB gain, but for some reason it was actually set to negative 0.3. So in my sleep, I must have come out here and tried to sabotage myself at some point. You got it right. I'm doing good. I tried Inkarnate Battle Map earlier. Excited to see what you think. Yeah, I actually, I've messed around with it a little bit already. Much better. That's good to know. Hey, Lost Soul. And just so you know, Lost Soul, that was actually not from the Battle Map editor. That was from Tom Kartos' new maps. He just released 60 in an exclusive pack to Foundry, or I don't think it's exclusive. I think it's from his Patreon, but free exclusively, maybe, to Foundry users, which is super cool. So actually, let's take a look at some of the maps that they show in the preview for the Battle Map editor, just to get a look at some of the stuff that they've got. One thing that I know from messing around with this already a little bit is that walls are not quite as easy to do as they are with DungeonDraft. You actually have to place them piece by piece instead of using the wall tool. But in the notes in their video and in their feature update, they mentioned that they are working on a wall tool. So I think that's going to go away as a problem soon. And honestly, that was my only real annoyance. I have one other gripe, and that might just be because I'm too dumb to know how to do it properly, but relating to figuring out grid size and what it should be coming into Foundry. But that should all be something that's relatively easy to iron out. Yeah, some of these maps look so great. The one thing that I will say is that these, I guess you can't see where I'm pointing, but actually let me open it and I can point with my mouse. But all of these like cliff sections, even in the fantasy editor, I've never been able to quite position these in a way that looked good to me. But let's get in and take a look at it. This is another thing. I'm never sure which size I should start out with. Actually, one of the things that I meant to do yesterday, but I don't think I actually did, was to come in and start a new map and say, okay, 35 tiles by 20 tiles. That's normally what I start with when I'm working in DungeonDraft, just because it seems like a good size. One of the things that I wanted to do was to make it and see what the export size would be in pixels, and then just use that in whatchamadigs in Inkarnate. So let's do that now so we can have a nice clean slate. So I'm just going to export this just to see at 100 pixels. It would be 3500 by 2000. Okay. So we'll do custom. Oh, it's just giving me a number. 3500, or like a single integer. 3500 by 2000. Create. That was one of my issues. A wall tool will be super cool. One other thing that I'd like to see is slightly different handling, at least in the battle map editor, for the stamp options. Something like DungeonDraft has, where it's kind of a long thing that you can scroll through, would be really nice. But they do have a lot of assets. I think they said they already have like 1,500. And I do like that they're stacked up like this. Like if they displayed it in a scrolling window just like this, where they were all stacked up and you could still hit this to expand, because that's one annoying thing with DungeonDraft, is that you'll come in and go to the object tool and there will be like 3 letters, whereas it'd be nice if this was collapsed down to just one that you could expand to see the other options. But it's also nice at sometimes to see everything. They did kind of make this easier to search through, at least by making this categorized, so you could hide different things if you wanted to, or hide everything and then only look at assets related to what you're looking for. So that's a nice thing. I saw that free battle map in Discord being announced. Now I can't find it. If you open Foundry and go to the module installer Lost Soul, you can type in Tom Kartos, and that should, or actually I think it might even be one of the first modules in the list now. But if we come out here, install module, let's see where it pops up. Okay, so it doesn't, but if we type in Kartos, yeah, Tom Kartos Ostenwald, you should be able to install that, and then it'll pull in here if you activate the module. So you'll have to come over here, do manage modules, and get in there. And then you'll have them all in your compendiums. And don't be dumb like me and try to import the journal entries and wonder why they don't show up in the scene directory. That was embarrassing. But yeah, so all you have to do is come in here, and then you can start importing any of them that you want. Let's do that. We'll save those changes. Find it in here, the Dresden Tower. Yeah, so that's pretty cool. And it is awesome that they're like pre-walled and everything like that. And I think that there were lights already. Yeah, so there's some lights in here. It's pretty cool. And it's good to know that I'm not the only person that had problem with scale and grids in this. I have trouble with it in the world maps too, actually. I'm just in a lot of I guess this is not something that I can open in a new tab. I hate when I can't open stuff in new tabs. But that's okay. We'll do create map. I mostly just wanted to get in here to show that I also can't do it on world maps. But world maps I found are a little bit easier in Inkarnate than they are in WonderDraft. At least for me. Something about the style makes it a little easier to do. At least for me. But see, we've got kind of this default dirt, which by itself I'm not a huge fan of, just because there's all the lines in it and everything. But I found if you take almost any of the other textures like grass, which I also am not a huge fan of when it's all 100%. Why isn't this popping up? Should be drawing across. Maybe it doesn't like that I have another one open or something. Let's try a different one. Yeah, I have no idea why this isn't popping up. Yeah, it's showing as changes coming in. Has anybody else had an issue with this? Or maybe this? There we go. I was on foreground. I guess I should have been on background. I figured I never had that issue before. I figured it would have changed automatically. If it didn't like, this is actually one of the textures that I really like though. I think this looks super cool. And I guess actually I can zoom out. Between all the different map software, I can never remember how to zoom out properly, and if it's like a control or if it's just zoom, or if you have to do alt to change brush sizes and stuff like that. I'm getting very confused. But yep. I figured it out, Lister. It takes me a while, and this is normally why I pre-record videos, because I just miss stuff. But oh yeah, what I was actually saying. So if you have something like grass covering everything, this to me actually kind of looks more like leaves. I guess I see what they're going for with the different bits coming out. But I found that if you take pretty much any of these brushes and then use a different one and just set the opacity down to like 0.6 and you just kind of run that over it a little bit, it hides some of the texture. Actually 0.6 might have been too much. Let's go down to like 0.4 and just run that over. Yeah, there we go. It starts to look a lot better when you mix the different brush options. I'm glad that you also had that problem, Lost Soul. Yeah, and I was actually thinking about streaming this yesterday, but since they hadn't posted any, they had posted a YouTube video, but they hadn't posted like on their Twitter or on their Reddit or anything like that. I was worried that it was like accidental and we weren't supposed to be making anything about it. Inkarnate has such a good foundation for map creation. Yeah, I agree. And I really like their style quite a bit. Can you turn yourself up a little, 5 or 10 dB? Yeah, I can go a little bit louder. Some of that might just be that I have a tendency to mumble to myself, but I should compensate for that. Here, let me, done. Okay, so we went from 12 dB to 15 dB. If we need to go up any more, let me know. I think 15 is where I've used it before, and I see that when I'm talking normally, I'm starting to hit my yellow part of the meter. I'll just try not to mumble quite as much. Having the ability to go over and blend textures and mix them is so nice. Yeah, 100%. And it solves a lot of the, because you can do the same thing in DungeonDraft, but I feel like I have less success with it. Something about the style in DungeonDraft kind of just makes me bad. So what kind of map do we want to make? Is there any kind specifically that anybody wants to see? We can start by looking through tokens, or we can start by looking through the background textures like the stone. I normally look through objects and kind of get inspiration from that. Like I'll see some specific thing, like let's build an entire map around a cheese wheel, and go from there. Or I like that they actually, it's funny, they have tents here, but they have other tents elsewhere. And I've noticed a few different places where I'd expect things to be grouped together, but they're not. And that could be an oversight, or it could be that there's a difference between the types of tents. Like maybe these tents are different from the other ones that are farther down, or at least I think it was tents that there were other things. But I love a lot of these, like this throne of gold. Like this could make a sweet map, any of these 3 thrones. Actually, I guess one of the things we could do is I can go through some of the maps that I have already created, and we can see what they would look like in Inkarnate. Let me see. Yeah, so here's a map that I made kind of in a rush for a game a little while ago, where the concept was supposed to be it's like a fae, not a fae court, but a court of elves that were aligned with the fae. as elves tend to be, where the grass kind of led up through the center, split off with tiles on the side. And we could try to do that. Use one of those cool throne room chairs at the top or something like that. Barring any other ideas coming in, I'm gonna start with that. So actually, let's pick a good looking grass, or nope, not here. We're gonna get a good looking grass for the background. Green ground. Oh, and there's cool, oh, they're calling them sewers, but that could still be useful for our purposes. Yeah, this grass should probably be bright green. Oh wait, I have to set that back up. Yeah, so we'll just start with bright green grass, and we'll figure it out as we go. So then that map was actually vertical. Can I change the map details here? No, I might have to, because I don't think I can rotate the map. Or can I? Nope, that's undo and control. No. So actually, we're going to start this one over again. I should have thought about this before I did it. Okay, so fantasy battle map. Choose style, custom. And we'll do 2000 for the width and 3500 for the height. That's a 100 pixel by 100 pixel grid area. Now we have a nice vertical map, just like the one over here. And let's add some nice pretty grass. Let's actually see what this grass looks like. And I'm on foreground again, but see, now I know. That doesn't look as friendly as the other grass, but maybe they'll look nice blended together. Or maybe I'll just wind up going back with the normal grass. Yeah, actually, that's not that bad. I like that. A little bit of a blend of both. Cool. Okay, so now let's go to the tokens and start putting together our walls. Huh, I lost my option for filtering over here. That's kind of odd. Oh well. I wonder if that's an A/B testing thing, where they're just trying to see if people are using that feature. Hard to say. Oh, that's a pretty cool, the Throne of Swords. Oh, I see what they're going for. Don't they know that show ended terribly? You don't want to make references to that anymore. Oh, there's like a lot of rotted food. Gross. Let's find some cool walls. Are these walls? Simple frame 2. Weird, you can do a search at the top. I'm on mine and I have the ability to filter. Yeah, that's weird. I think they must be doing, or maybe if I click, or, nope. Oh, that's actually cool that you can change the thumbnail size. You know, I was actually thinking annoyedly to myself, if that's a word, yesterday, that I wish that you could see some of these as bigger tokens. That's awesome that you actually can do that. Sorry if I hurt anybody's feelings by saying that that show ended terribly. If anyone's a huge fan of Game of Thrones, I don't mean to harsh your mellow randomly on a Friday night. Let's see. Where are walls? So we got limestone. What kind of wall? Ooh, a gold desert wall. I mean, it's not in the desert, but I could see them having a golden wall. Thick limestone. Let's actually see if we can just search wall and get a, yeah, there we go. Stone walls. I always like the way stone looks. hieroglyphs. We could just do a lot of hieroglyphs. Concrete. That's not super fun. Y'all have any strong preferences? I guess I'm kind of leaning towards either the stone walls or the gold desert walls. I guess the dwarven stone walls don't look bad either. They look kind of neat. They're a little more detailed than the stone walls. Actually, I guess they're the same. They're just different colors. That's funny. That's a good reuse of assets. It would be cool if there were colorable assets. That's one thing that I like to see. Oh, and actually, I'm sorry. I meant to send out a tweet that I was streaming, because that's what I try to do. Hey, look, it's me. Ah, be quiet. Self. There we go. Hey, everybody. Trying out Inkarnate RPG's new battle map editor in a stream. Let's hang out and talk D&D and battle maps. There we go. I forgot that I had to link the video. Okay, there we go. So we'll do that. Another potential battle map tool. Yes, exactly. It's crazy. There were no battle... I mean, there were battle map tools. There was Dungeon Paint Studio. I don't know if anybody had it, but there was a thing on Steam. I can't remember what it was called. Why isn't Steam opening? Steam. Okay. Steam doesn't want to open for me, so maybe we'll take a look at that later. It might be updating. There's always some update that Steam has to do. Let's just go ahead and go with this. I like the gold. No, it wasn't Tabletop Simulator. It was, you know what, I guess I can just Google it. Store.steampower.com. I have no idea how I'm going to find it. But it was a 3D map making tool. It was in here somewhere. Maybe it was Battle Map Studio, I think. No, this doesn't look like it. This does look like another thing that I was following, though. I'm following like 12 different battle map styles. I wasn't thinking of Tailspire, but Tailspire is awesome. And if y'all... This is another one that I'm on an email list for following. I do have beta access to Tailspire, though. I bought in during their Kickstarter, so I do have that if anybody would be interested in a stream on that or something at some point. But no, this wasn't it. 3D map making software, Steam. Dungeon Painter Studio. Maybe it was Virtual Battle Map. Yeah, this is what it was. I'd never bought it just because they charge a lot for their DLC. And honestly, with the stuff that's in it, it looks like you could just download Unreal Engine and just download assets and start making maps almost exactly the same way. But it's pretty cool looking. I did like the way some of the maps looked. But I also don't think they have an orthographic view. So I don't think you can get a perfect top-down. But you could still make some cool stuff with it. But that's neither here nor there. I just go on tangents. Do I want to do this or do I want to do Gold Desert? Let's try with Gold Desert Walls. Where's... I don't know. They're kind of thick. Seems maybe a little gaudy. Though I guess they are elves. They always claim to be like all for nature and all that stuff. But they're always very fancy and formal. So, who knows? Let's see. Now I know one of the things that they added was grouping support. I'm not sure actually how to do that. Let's see if it's in their shortcuts. Ooh, that's a lot of Shortcuts. Area. Nope. Oh, I will say this. I felt like there was a distinct lack of doors. Don't know if it was just me. You know, that's a good point. And the one other map that I made that actually had a door, or that had a place where a door could go, I just left there. I just left it with no door because it was a ruined keep where the door had been like smashed and blown up. Yeah, so I don't see any options for grouping. I know that there is a grouping functionality in here now. It might be under the token settings or something, but it doesn't really matter. But it is nice to place a bunch of objects and be able to copy them. That is one thing that you can't do with DungeonDraft's wall tool, is copy and paste things, which would be nice. Illwinter's floor plan generator. Yeah, there's a lot of those. Or actually, Illwinter's is kind of like Dungeon Paint Studio, I think, isn't it? Or Illwinter's floor plan generator. Yeah, and actually, I think they just added an export option for Foundry, if I recall correctly, which is cool. There's this, and there's a lot of those like Dyson map generators where they're kind of like on black and white, and they've got different like sections that you can drag out and stuff, so you can make really old school maps, which is cool. But I kind of like the new school. You know what I mean? I like the new way of making maps. One other thing I'd like to see in here is a alignment tool. So like if I was pulling these up, I'd like for a line to appear showing when I've got them perfectly aligned. I guess one thing that you could do is delete. I could copy it, paste it. Oh, but then it doesn't paste it in exactly the right place. I was going to say, actually, I guess I could still mostly do the same thing. I just have to align it first like this. So I could do that and then move it over, and that way I'd know that they're aligned properly. So let's do that. Move some of these over. And how much space do I have down here? Yeah, so we'll move these both down so we can use as much space as we can for actually making maps, or actually making the part of the map we're going to be interacting with. Let's get these all up here. This might be, yeah, that's about as tall as we want to go. If you go to the grid button on the left one above magnifying glass, oh, this. Oh, yeah, I do know that we can turn this on, and that would make some of the alignment easier, but there's still like these little bits that go beyond. I really like the point snapping in DungeonDraft, though this is a good option for making it a little easier. And I guess I can use this to kind of define how much or how big I want this place to be. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, like 45 and a half feet wide. That's pretty big. Let's go to 40. Yeah, that'll do. Does anybody use Dungeon Fog or anything like that? I know other people have used that for a fair bit. I'm not personally a fan of the style of that or Dungeon Painter, but different strokes. And so actually, let's put a stone. Actually, I'll do. They have a fancier one. No, tiles is probably the fanciest that you can get. Oh, I need to set this to 1. We'll just see what that looks like. It's a little dark. Just kind of wanted to get a feel for it. So maybe we'll put some fancy, pretty stuff on top. Bunch of benches and that kind of thing. And I do know if I were to come through and place this, and you can do Control F to bring to top, like to a top layer, if you don't want an object to appear underneath another one. Let me do that, pull that over here. So we've got kind of a closed in area. And we'll do the same down here. Okay, there we go. Move that over a little bit. Move that over a little bit. Move that over a little bit. And maybe we'll bring this one to the front. Yeah, this wound up being a little bit off center. There we go. Cool, cool, cool. And I know that, or I think when you have walls, if you try to paint, I believe I noticed previously that it seemed like it stopped your brush a little bit more. Maybe it doesn't, I'm not sure. But I felt that way yesterday when I was using it. Let's see, let's get all that filled in. Okay. I used Dungeon Painter for a long time before DungeonDraft came onto the scene. Now I essentially just use DungeonDraft. Dungeon Painter served me well, but I too wasn't a fan of their default asset/style. I used a lot of custom mod content. Yeah, and that was one really nice thing about Dungeon Painter Studios, how much content there was. That's something that I hope happens with DungeonDraft. It's already pretty much starting to happen. And there's already so many assets in the base library to begin with. But it's always nice to have more. So let's see what we see in here. Actually, let's grab one of the thrones. Which one of these is a elven? This is like kind of dwarven. This is kind of like just militaristic. This is a little too gaudy for elves. But the guy doing it, or that this map was based on, is kind of a jerk. So this kind of makes sense. And if each one of these squares is 5 feet, this shouldn't be as big as one of them. Or I guess maybe it could be. Go a little bit bigger. Place a stone or a sword throne up there. Yeah, having an easier way to get assets into DungeonDraft would be really nice. That was actually something that I started to look into one night before I went to bed, but then I forgot about it. Was looking to see if, because DungeonDraft's written in Godot, I think, and Godot has like its asset package system, which I think is what DungeonDraft uses. I was curious if I could make asset packs using just the Godot engine, like if I could make an application that would generate the asset packs automatically. But I did never find an answer on that. If anybody's a game developer or knows anything about Godot or anything, that would be super, super sweet information to have. Let's place one of these in here. We'll rotate it around using Control Shift. Ooh. I think there's a shortcut for send to back, but I don't know what it is. Do-do-do. I don't know. Maybe I'll just have to click on it. Like, oh, Control B. There it is. Control B, Control B. There we go. And then we'll paint in kind of a different style of stone up there. Another still fancy looking one. I guess we can try one of these sewer tiles. Or maybe the stone, just see what it looks like. It's kind of neat. I don't know. Dungeon Painter will have a new UI and lighting and shading coming soon. At the summer will be good to see the changes. Oh yeah, I remember. Their screenshot for it looks super cool. It makes it look like there's actual like 3D lighting effects and stuff. I'm really excited for that. I liked the art style in that a lot more than I did the original assets, and that could just be because it was super stylized and everything like that. But I'm definitely looking forward to it because I'm not owned by DungeonDraft or anything. I just, in terms of what's out there, it's my favorite. Though this may take its place just because I like the art style so much. And one other thing to note about Inkarnate is that it already has custom asset support. You can always and always have been able to just go into the catalog and upload your own textures or tokens or stamps or whatever language you want to use about it. Let's get rid of this little bit of stone that came in back here. Paint over that a little bit with the other grass. Did I not select the? Yeah, there we go. Select the other one. Oh, I didn't turn my opacity down. There we go. And I think a lot of the assets in here are designed to start being mixed with others. There's a lot of lines and everything that get smoothed out pretty easily. That does make that wall look really, really big. We might be able to put some stairs or something over that. I watch Encounter's vid for how to add assets, but it's too many copy and paste. I can understand that. Yeah, that video is really long, and I've gotten some comments that were not super enthusiastic about the presentation, which is fine. I can understand why. The video, it could have been a lot shorter, but I wanted to cover every aspect of the asset import and changing assets if they didn't already have the correct stuff in them and all that. So it wound up being long. I will eventually try to make a simplified version, especially now that I know it a little bit better. I was hoping that more quickly some additional tools would come out for generating the tag systems and stuff, but it didn't. So maybe that's on me. Maybe I should make that. Like copy and paste stuff. Yeah. I've seen some people working on programs to automate the asset pack creation process already. Yeah, that would be awesome. If somebody else does it, that's even better. I like making videos about stuff. If somebody wants to make it and they need a marketing guy or whatever, I'm happy to make a video about it because I want it to be easier because I've imported my own assets for maps that I was trying to create, and I wish that it was easier too. The Schley Asset Pack one is easy to follow step by step, but it is a lot of work. Crimson, you flatter me with your kind words. Let's keep going. Yeah, the lack of doors is much of a weird choice. Is an easy fix with how easy it is to upload your own custom assets. Yeah, so if you do have door assets or anything like that, you can easily fix the problem, but it does seem like an oversight, especially when you have things like rotted food, but you don't have doors, which is kind of funny. Because, I mean, there's a lot of things that are oversights in DungeonDraft where there's not tokens for specific things. And I love a lot of the assets that are in here, like some of these torn and tattered tents, broken stone, like all of these different things are great. They've got a lot of just these things that'll make like beautiful accent pieces in certain maps. Like you can make a great desert map, like a desert market map or something with this. It would be so cool. There's a lot of variation that you can do. Yep, I saw that tutorial about the Schley packing. Yes, tons of work. So I went and made the map I was making in Studio Paint. To be fair, I'm not sure that's your fault. The asset import is extensive. That process needs to be easier. Yeah. Yeah, it would be nice if it was easier on the DungeonDraft side. I feel like they're probably... part of the problem is I spent so many hours getting that video up. I think it was up until 5 or 6 in the morning getting that out when asset release was available that I made some mistakes in it. regarding, I think, the tag file specifically, and that's why there's all those cut-ins where it's like, hey, costume change, I had to fix this. That's because I woke up the next morning, I was like, oh my god, there's problems. So what are we looking for now? Let's just look for anything that we can start putting in this throne room that would look cool. Oh yeah, and like these are some things that like there's nothing like this in DungeonDraft. Like you've got all these crazy like alchemical phylactery type thingamajigs. I think I saw in one of their Twitter pictures that they use these to make something that looked like a spell jammer or just a general airship. Looked super cool. And I love some of these just crazy like giant skulls. They have some, I think, down here at the bottom. Yeah, like this crazy demon that you can put in your map. Like, that's an object that you look at it and you're like, I'm going to make an entire map based around this single stamp. And everything else is secondary to this crazy thing that I have. I like being able to draw walls, not place tiny segments of them and try to line them up. That just seems weird to me. Yeah, and they are working on a wall tool, which I think will eliminate most of my gripes by itself, just because placing walls is kind of annoying, and it'd be nice to have a more consistent way for them to stack and everything. But, you know. I guess we could put something like a summoning circle underneath it. That would look fancy. Wonder what that looks like. Get those. Ooh, I can't get the star facing exactly the way that I want it to. I guess I can always come in and rotate after the fact. Where do I have to? There we go. Nope, that was the wrong thing. I want to access this. There we go. Not sure that I super like that. That was maybe a bad idea on my part. I wonder if they meant to add more stamps under the one wooden door. That is possible. That they're like, oh yeah, there's our stack of doors. Everything's great. Push the update out, fellas. Actually, let's verify. How many doors do they have? So they have door frame, trap doors, prison door, wooden like saloon style doors, and stone rune doors. I guess there's a couple options in here. Still not a lot. It's the same style and basically the same door, just in different open states. Yeah, it'd be nice to have a little bit more. A little bit more there, but that's not a big deal. What am I looking for? What would be, I don't know what would be, I guess benches is what I had in the other one. I don't know if there's a bench asset. Let's see. Throne rooms have lots of rugs. Those people in power don't want to touch the cold stone floor. That's fair. That's fair. Yeah, so let's find some fancy rugs. We'll just give them some huge tattered ones. I guess we do royal rugs. I don't actually even know what these look like. Oh, they really just look like that. Cool. Let's do that. That's kind of neat. Yeah, all right. So actually, maybe this should be brought above that, and then we can kind of pull it forward. That might be too big. Kind of liked it a little bit better that way. There we go. That one wooden door just yeah, you have like a personal vendetta against that door. It's like your D&D group tried to get through it for 4 hours and had to use all their spell slots and still couldn't do it. I think that happened in Critical Role Campaign 1. I always want to call it Season 1, but that's not right. Got some oval rugs. Got some of these. I mean, this kind of looks grassy. I wonder what that would look like if I stacked. if instead of doing kind of grass leading up, I did... Oop, that was an accident. Pull that up here. Not a super big fan of that. I guess it's long enough that it reaches the wall. But then we'll want to send that back one. Yeah, that's not bad. This was originally going to be grass, and it might still be grass in the end because that's what it is in the original. But I wasn't super thrilled with how it looked in the original. I thought, like, in my mind's eye, it was a lot cooler than it wound up being. And I think that's just an issue of the medium. There was only so much, like, texture that I could have shown. There's probably more stuff that I could have done to separate the grass from the tile, but who knows? We'll leave it like this to begin with, because I also don't know if that same style would work very well in this kind of aesthetic, where it's, like, more gritty and realistic. Glorious trophies and statues. Yeah, statues would be good. The door was unlocked. They didn't even bother checking. One other thing that I had was flowers. So we could put... I was hoping for something more rose-like, because this is the Rose Throne Room. One of my players, Asabel Rose... I hope my wife can't hear me in the other room because this is backstory that she doesn't know yet. Comes from a royal family in the north, and their last name is the Rose, or the Rose family, and so, you know, a lot of Rose stuff around in that map. There we go. Get some of this balanced out. Is anybody playing D&D this weekend? Hopefully all remote, or at least socially distant if you are playing. There we go. Actually, let's get this lined up over here, and we'll move both of these so that they're lined up in the center between the two. There we go. She's... I would do that. She might already have headphones on, and the yelling might be even more distracting. She's working on her master's, so she's going through some classwork right now, and I am playing make-believe on the internet. We're very similar. Very similar. I wonder if I just typed in rose now. Flower... plant. Let's see, are there any other plants? So there's some other plants. You do forest floor plants, but that wouldn't be super fitting here. Not the weekend. I play on Tuesday. I play on Tuesday evening. Well, I DM on Tuesday. I normally play on Wednesday. Finishing on Arc this Sunday. That's awesome. What's going on in everybody's game so far? Or what modules are you playing, or any of that good stuff. I love hearing about other people's games because I like to steal the ideas and make use of them wherever it is fitting. And actually, occasionally I do streams on... Normally, or I was doing them on Monday nights, but I think I might actually try to do them on Thursdays or Fridays going forward, because since I DM on Tuesday and I do campaign prep stream, or I was doing campaign prep streams on Mondays, if I didn't get stuff done that Monday night, I was freaking out all Tuesday, and I had to, like, finish things in between work. And that was a little stressful, but if I would do it on Thursdays or Fridays, then I'd have all of the weekend to go through and finish anything that I didn't finish already in the stream. Let's see if there's any bench. I think I checked that already. Bar. Yeah, bar table will do basically as well if we just shrink it down. I did not mean to rotate that. So this would make it... I never remember which way to zoom in. There we go. So there's 15 feet on either side. So we can go... We want to have a little bit of room on either side. There we go. Oh, God. I'm so dumb. Let's just copy this, actually, because I've already screwed up the size. There we go. So let me... Can you select... Yeah, you can select multiples. Or actually, I did that earlier. I should have known that. Oh, I think this actually works a little bit like DungeonDraft and other pieces of software. I shouldn't try to always compare it to DungeonDraft. That's just what I know the most. I think if I point at a specific place, that's, yeah, so that's where it pastes roughly. I'm not sure exactly what they're defining as the center, but that it does look like that's roughly the idea. Okay, so what it was in the original map, which I've closed, but I can reopen, is that I had all these benches with little like cushions and stuff on them, and then I had kind of these pillars in the center. I'm not sure if I'm going to remake everything exactly, but I might make both of these smaller. Nope, not rotate. Oh, but that means I'm going to have to do more of those. Maybe we won't do that. Greetings from Australia. Holy cow. What time is it in Australia? Oh, that's actually not that bad. Oh, and I don't know how to spell. There we go. 12:20. Okay, for some reason I thought it was going to be worse than that. But greetings, Australia. I hope that... Actually, you know what? I'm not going to make that joke. You probably get the upside down joke all the time. That's not funny. Tuesday, I'm a player. Me and the other DM run our separate homebrew campaigns bi-weekly. That sounds really nice. One of my players DMs a game, and so I DM for him on Tuesday, and then he DMs for me the next day. But if we could do it every other week, that would probably make it a little easier for both of us in terms of prep. But, you know, it is what it is. It's fun to play a lot of D&D. And I'm actually taking a couple weeks off right now because we just finished a big arc too, and now I have to plan out what's going on for the rest of it. And in the game I'm a player, we just got onto a huge turtle, which has a city on its back. We're investigating some dark energies that are occurring there. Oh, a dark energy turtle? I hope it's nothing wrong with the turtle. If the turtle is the bad guy, we riot. Or I'll riot. I don't know. But that sounds awesome. In the game I'm running, the players are traveling through Elf Country to get to a location called the Titan's Den. An artifact is held there, which they require to defeat a beholder. Oh, nice. Is this free or a subscription? So, Tenzin, there is a free version. It doesn't have access to all of the same stamps, and the stamps are these, this catalog of options here. So... you don't get access to everything, but you get access to a subset of them, and you can make world maps with it too. And then it's $25 a year, which is not too bad, to get access to everything for the year. Though I don't think you continue to own it afterwards. You can I think you can continue to have access to your maps, but I don't think you can edit them and make new ones with the tokens that you don't have access to anymore. I could be wrong, though. Actually, are there any windows? There are. I don't know that I like the aesthetic here, though. Let's see what that looks like if I place it down. Nah, that looks kind of funky. Because that was one other thing that I had in this map, is that I had windows here where the light was streaming through, and I liked the way that looked. I might just say that there's windows within the walls, because they do light a little bit interestingly in that they don't have like an actual placeable light source, but they have light stamps that match certain things. So you can get cool specific effects, which is useful in its own way. Not necessarily bad or better than another way, just a little different. So I can actually still kind of replicate it. And I actually really like the way the light looks once it gets placed. So let's place a few of these. There we go. Awesome. Thank you for the info. Happy to help. Also, what we're talking about campaigns, we're doing a campaign that takes place solely in a giant city and basically is a comedy crime drama. That sounds that sounds awesome. I was just reading, I think a thread on like DM Academy or something where they were talking about if you don't want to build a whole world or anything, just build one super in-depth city. And I think that's kind of like the path that I think Waterdeep Dragon Heist went. I don't actually own it, but it sounds like that all takes place in a city and it's a big like crime thing, which sounds super cool. And then pretty much every D&D adventure turns into at least a little bit of comedy as you struggle and fail to accomplish things that you should be able to do. Oh, right. I'm sorry, Lister. I meant to ask you, what level is everybody? And is it like a homebrewed beholder or anything where it requires like a certain thing to defeat it? Or is it just they need more powerful magic gear to be able to take on something like a beholder? Didn't expect things to go so well. First time DMing and... Oh, I'm sorry. I read this completely backwards. First time DMing and did 2 sessions so far. They were a lot more fun with my friends in the US. We spent 1 whole session just in town without any combat, and they really liked fighting over girl NPC. Yeah, players will always, or if some players will always find a way to have fun and RP and all that. I want to get this not above the wall, but above all the other stuff. There we go. That should be better. Well, that's funny. It's nice when you have a session where all they do is role play and they don't even go through any of your prep, because then you're like, oh yeah, I'm totally ready. We can keep going. Or you can do another game sooner, or you just don't have to do any work for the next session. And that is always a good feeling. And there's sometimes where you'll prep a bunch of stuff and it won't be enough, and then other times where you barely prep anything and it'll still be more than enough. Players are very confusing with their motivations and how quickly they move through some things. There we go. So now we've got some fancy light. I like this one too, and this actually looks pretty cool. I don't know where I would necessarily use this in this map, but it's a cool looking light. Maybe I'll just put some of these behind here. It wouldn't make any sense, but it looks cool. But it would probably be better if it made a little bit of sense. Let's get rid of all those. I'm playing Oh, you're playing a Sun Soul Monk. My wife would be thrilled. She is also playing a Sun Soul Monk, and she gets offended because everybody on the internet says that Sun Soul Monks are lame and not cool, which I disagree with entirely, especially having watched her play it. Sun Soul Monks are badass, and they can do a lot of super cool things. They effectively get like Fireball and Burning Hands for basically free. Don't have to do any spell slots or anything like that, and you can just keep pumping key points into stunning strikes and all that. Sun Soul Monks are super cool, and the flavor of it is just really fun. Especially hers. She comes from like a kind of poor background and got in trouble with the law because her and her sister were stealing food, and they kind of got cornered, and to protect her sister, she kind of freaked out and essentially like exploded out in this radiant energy and damaged some guards, and so she was put in jail for it. And she has no idea what the hell happened. She doesn't know why she has this power. She wasn't trained in a monastery or anything like that. So she doesn't know anything about what's going on with her, what ki is or anything like that. And so for the first like 4 or 5 levels, instead of her being able to do a radiant sunbolt whenever she wanted to, we had kind of like a magic, a wild magic roll table where it was like, if you roll X or above, you accidentally just blast out light when you make a normal attack. And then it was kind of as she kept focusing and trying to meditate and making wisdom checks each night, trying to understand what was going on, that she was slowly able to like control it. And now she can do it whenever she wants. And it was just fun. It's there's a lot of fun flavor stuff that you can do with Sun Soul monks that's beyond just what normal monks have, where it's like, I punch and I kick. Way the Shadow monks are super cool too, and that they're kind of the antithesis of Sun Soul monks. Not that they can shoot shadows or whatever, but just that light and shadow are obviously opposites. But anyway, I did not finish reading that sentence. I'm playing a Sun Soul monk, Kalshtar race, so there's a heavy theme of light versus dark. Very nice. The turtle stood on one of my sacred temples, but I don't personally blame. Well, that's good that you don't personally blame the turtle, because hopefully the turtle didn't know what it was doing. Unless it's a super intelligent turtle and it was just blasting sacred relics of people because it's a jerk. In which case, I take back all the nice things that I said about that turtle. It's a homebrew campaign, homebrew world. The beholder's a homebrew too. It's essentially a patron. Oh, okay. Its eye was stolen 600 years ago and it was weaponized into the artifact it's required to repel. But to actually defeat it and kill it, I don't see that happening anytime soon. Yeah, at level 6, unless you had like 30 players going up against a beholder, that would be quite a lot. Level 6, that's the same level that all my players are, though I've essentially speed run them through level 6. I think they'll need like 1 or 2 more boss fights to level up. They've only been level 6 for I think 2.5 sessions maybe. They had some grueling and brutal last 2 fights. Let's see if there's any like cushion things that we can place on the benches to make them look a little bit more comfortable. Burnt books. That's not it. We could just put a bunch of rotting bananas. That would be great. This is one of those things where I'm like, really? They included like essentially a gelatinous cube as an asset. Like, it's a cool asset, but I don't know when you'd want to put that in a map, because you normally need to be able to move it around. I guess if you don't use it as a gelatinous cube, if you just use it as, I guess, some kind of death pudding, then it makes sense. But like, there's a full tower shield in there. That thing has to be at least like 10 feet, 15 feet wide. The cube, not the shield, of course. Oh, one other thing I do like is that they have all these like cloud assets. I thought they looked really good when they get placed in a map. And these smoke assets, I don't know. I don't think they have any fire assets. Their blood looks really good too. A lot better than DungeonDraft's, because DungeonDraft's it's all just one color. If it had more of a texture, because this has like dark and brighter pieces, that would be great. Oh, they have sails? Yeah, maybe we'll make a boat next. Boats are something that people get really hyped about in DungeonDraft. I like, oh yeah, all these desert dunes. I tried to make a desert map not that long ago. And I started making a map based around this Titan hand thing alone, which is another asset where it's just like, holy hell, that thing looks so cool coming out of the ground. Oh, that's a tree. Huh. Hey, you could use this big turtle, Lister, in your game if you wanted to. Oh my god, you can make it so big. I'm an evil turtle. I stepped on Lister's temple. There we go. I hope that's not a bad flashback for you. That's funny. That's a great turtle. Oh yeah, all these tentacles and all that stuff. That's great. This sword looks cool too. Damn. It's pretty cool. Gives a feeling of... Yeah, I agree. I liked it a lot. So what you think about the new tool? I like it, but DD is more complete and easier in my opinion. I love the assets. I would like more of them, and I would like there to be a wall tool. I'd also like there to be a little... I'd like there to be a... I guess with the grid tool, if you turn that on, it's pretty easy to do. I wish that these squares of tiles, like I wish 4 of them kind of lined up within one of the grid. I understand why that can't always be the case, but I don't know. But I do like it a lot. I wish there was a slightly different way to look through objects. But overall, I like it a lot. I definitely see myself making some maps in this, especially once the wall tool comes out. And I know they're working on some other features too. There's a lot of assets in here that aren't in DungeonDraft, so there's like completely different kinds of maps that you could make, which is great. And you know, actually, this guy was a wizard. Maybe I'll put a wizard book on his throne. Let's get this a little bit bigger, but not so big because it is still just a book. This is one of those super tiny details that isn't going to be visible to anyone, but I will like it because I'll know that it's there. And you know, this map didn't have an awful lot going on in it to begin with, so this might be a good enough point to call this one quits. I guess I should have some kind of door. So let me go back to that one door that did Lister wrong, and we'll use it. Oh, if you don't mind me giving you crap. I don't actually mean any of it in a negative way. Oh, that's too big. There we go. And then maybe we'll get rid of... Oh, nope, I just wound up getting rid of the door. I am dumb. There we go. Now we'll do this. Just make it a pretty big door. I'm gonna move this over a little bit. That makes that a kind of gigantic. Yeah, one nice thing about DungeonDraft is that when you start stacking the walls, you can make the walls as long as you want, whereas these are kind of limited to the sizes that they give you, which they do give you a fair amount, don't get me wrong, but it won't ever be as perfect as exactly the length that you want. But there we go. You can do a little bit of that. I'm going to put this one on top because that'll make it look a little bit nicer. Yeah. So that's not bad. It's not a super engaging map, but that's just because the original map wasn't super engaging. I don't think that's a fault of Inkarnate. Oh, wow. Let me scroll up a little bit. I like it. Yeah, so I did that one. Not down here, we don't. LOL. I do not recall what was being talked about at that point. That's on me. Especially for the, yeah, easier custom assets in this 100%. Do you XP to level up or milestone in your campaign? I do it in milestones, but I kind of use the XP as a way of designing the arcs. I look at how much XP they need to hit, and I look at what kind of monsters I can put in there, and I try to design the arcs to end at a satisfying place within that. Just because that makes it gives you kind of a design system to say, like, as they get stronger, it should take a little bit longer for them to accomplish things. And I definitely give XP for roleplay, for alternative ways of solving problems. They don't have to kill enemies to get by them. If they bypass 1800 XP worth of enemies through some clever use of a spell or something like that, they get all that XP. Maybe even a little bit more for coming up with something beyond what I could have come up with. Um, so I wouldn't say it's strictly XP based. It's definitely more in line with milestone, but I kind of use the XP as a way of designing it to a certain length. Have you ever thought of streaming your games? It'd be interesting to see Foundry in action in an actual game. I actually, I don't know that I'll stream them, but I do record them. I've recorded our past 5 or so games. 5 or so games. And I've thought about editing it together, but I haven't actually done it yet because it's a lot of work. You know what? Let's go ahead. We'll save this one. We're going to start on a new interesting map. The Rose Throne Room. Just enter that real quick. And while that saves, I'll read through the rest of these. My group rotates GMs, and as a group, we decide if we've been through enough to have leveled up. I think that makes sense because you definitely want to have the players involved and know what is going on with them and their characters to see if they feel like they've gotten to a point where it's worth or where they've earned new abilities. And especially if you're trying to role play the development of your abilities, like if you're a wizard who is constantly talking about how they are studying and writing notes and trying to figure out equations for more complex spells, to have a say in when you actually learn those so that you can say in role play that you're getting closer, you've almost got it figured out, that kind of thing, that is super useful. I just purchased it a couple days ago. I've yet to actually run a game with it. I actually, by the time I was making videos about Foundry, had not gotten a chance to run a game in it. I had just spent so much time in it that I was like, this was very confusing for me. I need to start making videos about it. 1, so I have a reference, and 2, so anybody who is starting up like me does not have to figure it all out by themselves, and they can learn it from someone who is almost just as confused as they are. Let's do another fantasy battle map. Anybody want to call out any requests for types of map? I can go through some of the other ones that I've made in the past and see how those come out. This was another one that I made that was abusing the sail assets to make kind of like a circus stage area where the players were all in cages and performing. Could try to do something like that or anything else. My friend DM's on Roll20 and I'm a new DM, so I just went straight to Foundry after doing a lot of research. My only dislikes about Foundry is that the icons in the top right are a little small. Other than that, Foundry has been great once you find the correct modules to install. Yeah, I'd say it's good. It doesn't have a layer system like Roll20, but you can choose to hide/show individual tokens and stuff instead. Yeah, and I think you can, I believe, control this with CSS. If you're not a web developer, it may not... Oh, I hit the wrong button. May not be super easy for you to do. Let me see if I can find out quickly what the class is for the tabs. Is it just item? That's quite vague. But... yeah, so I guess if you wanted to go to like a double row, you could do something like that. You could change this to 54 pixels. You'd have to do it on a module to have it always running. I don't know if that actually made them any bigger. Did it? Yeah, I think it did. There's probably more that could be done to get them to be a better size for you too. But I don't know, that would be a good thing to have as an accessibility setting for people with poor eyesight. Point worth at the moment. I love it. I have so many hours in on Roll20. It's a bit... Yeah, and if you do have a Roll20 game and you want to convert things, Kakaroto, the guy who does the Forge, and a bunch of other modules that I can't remember off the top of my head, has a Roll20 converter. So... be sure to take a look at that if you want to convert your campaign over. But it will take some learning to realign yourself from Roll20 to Foundry. Try some environment type map. Okay, let's do exactly that. Normally I make environmental maps in a widescreen. I pretty much make everything in widescreen. I think it's just because my monitor is widescreen and it makes it so I can utilize more of it. I also use the darkness filter feature to simulate time of day, and the players find it cool. Yeah, there's a lot of little features in Foundry that when you turn them on, players will be like, what? That's so cool. None of my players had actually used a VTT before, except for one of them, the one who also DMs a game, who DMs now in Foundry instead of Roll20. What was I saying? I've completely lost my train of thought. I've only played on Roll20, not DM'd. Yeah, and I've actually never played on Roll20 or DM'd on Roll20. I tried to learn it a couple times, and I found the UI so unintuitive and frustrating that I just bailed. My next favorite after Foundry in terms of VTTs is probably Astral, because Astral is at least clean and simple and looks nice. It has horrific character sheets, but, you know, I use D&D Beyond anyway, so that doesn't concern me an awful lot. What kind of environment do we want to make? I really like this stone. I think that looks great. I like this dirt. We're not going to use any of the stones or anything like that, since that's more like city, urban, but we could do red ground. We could have like a lava zone, ice, snow. Lots of different options. If anybody has any preferences, let them be known. What does this look like? I don't think I've... Every time it's starting me on foreground now instead of background. Huh. I don't know how much that looks like grass. I guess it's like kind of maybe blue mountain grass or something. I'm not entirely sure. Alta environment. Yeah, I can totally do that. Didn't know about the developer console. I just have a bigger monitor. Oh, yeah. So if resolution scaling doesn't work, then F12 to open the developer console, and you can do that. But you'll have to redo it each time. You can make a little macro for it probably. I'm going to have to get to bed. I'll watch the rest of the stream tomorrow. Have a good one. You too, Lister. Thanks for coming to our stream. I'm glad you were able to make one. It was good talking to you. Let's see. We'll do some of this dark grass. There we go. Just fill that in. I like dark, gritty, sad maps that just look like dirty. There we go. So we'll do some of that, and we'll add in maybe a little bit of this. I'm curious what this looks like with a lower opacity on it, so it's just showing a little bit. Okay, so you get kind of like an interesting undertone. That might have been a little too much still, because you could start to see too much of the lines. Oh man, my computer's janking a little bit. There we go. Here we go. We'll just mix a little bit of different textures in. See what that looks like. Oh, come on. There we go. Okay, now let's find, I guess, probably some trees, some like other swampy looking things. I wish that I could get my filter roll categories back over here. I don't know where that went. No, I can't click on any of this to get it back. Please, Foundry Jitsi tutorial begging, and thank you for this. Wasn't aware Inkarnate could be used this way. It only very recently can be. And actually, to your point, Brennan, let me see if I can bring something up without doxing myself. Yeah, I should be able to show this. This is where I currently stand with the Jitsi video. I've got 2.5 pages written. which is most of it. How many words is that? Almost 1,500 words. I am making progress on it. It is very boring. But I am working on it. And hopefully it'll be done this weekend. Hopefully. I do want to get it out. I know people have been very excited for it. And then hopefully soon after that, since a lot of the stuff that I have to cover at the beginning of this video is also going to be usable in the Foundry hosting video, hopefully that will cover some of it. So hopefully the Foundry video will come out a little bit faster than the other ones. Let's see what kind of tree options we have. Oh, there's this big dead tree. We could have that kind of be the central point of the map. Or maybe we could have them need to get to it over here. Oh, I didn't mean to place a second one. Let's see what other trees we've got. There's lots of creepy, fallen, broken trees, which I'm a big fan of. One cool thing in Foundry for anybody who hasn't used it is that there's this random stamps option, which is kind of like the scatter tool in DungeonDraft. So you can click and it will place different ones around. It doesn't have a rotation option, I believe. Maybe it does. Let me test that real quick. Does this have... Nope. Okay. Yeah, so it doesn't look like it has a rotation option built into it. But that's pretty easy to do afterwards. You are awesome. Oh, you're very kind. I hope that I've made it easier. I do want... That is what I'm hoping for. Because I know for me it was a little hard to get started with everything. It's good to hear that it is actually helping people. How long does a standard session run for you? I always say that it's going to be 4 hours, but it oftentimes winds up being 5 or 6 hours. When I was first starting this campaign, they were oftentimes 8 to 12 hours. But that is, for anyone out there who DMs, an extremely long time. A couple weeks ago, we did a session on Sunday that was 7 hours, and then we did another session the next night to get through like this final part of an arc. That was another 5 or 6 hours. That was a lot, and so I'm taking a little break right now while I plan out the rest of what's going to go on in the world. Let's place some of this stuff in different places. Get these mixed together. Do you only play D&D? I only play D&D currently. I've played a little bit of other stuff before. I've played All Flesh Must Be Eaten, and then I played kind of my own homebrewed system a little bit in high school. I played 3.5. I've always wanted to play Shadowrun, but everybody that I know vastly prefers the medieval fantasy element. And so D&D is kind of a good fit for that. I know something like Savage Worlds and other stuff would also be good, but I DM what they want to play. Not to make it actually sound like I'm upset about that. I really like D&D. And I haven't never really had as much opportunity as other people to play it to the point where I got bored with it. Which I can totally understand other people feeling if you've played it 40 times and you've seen all of the character tropes, you've gotten to play all of the different types of characters and all that stuff. But I played a lot in high school, and then pretty much everybody moved away to different places, and I've only in the past year or so been able to get back into it and start playing and DMing again. So for me, it feels very fresh still. I'd like to play almost any different kind of game though, especially maybe one that was more role play focused, like Vampire or something like that. Shadowrun is as a system hard, but as a world very fun. Yeah, somebody was telling me. I think I was talking to somebody in the last stream about Shadowrun, or the stream before that, and how many dice you get to roll, which sounds very satisfying to get to roll that many dice. Um, but it does seem like a fairly crunchy system, which I'm not opposed to. I'm not a min-max or anything. I like the crunch and I like the number play and everything, but I'm not as intense in a lot of those things as other people are. And there we go. So it would probably be a little bit of effort for me to get into something like Shadowrun, but I love the world a lot. And on the 360 there was a Shadowrun game. I've never actually played the other Shadowrun games that are on PC, but the one on 360 and PC was amazing. It was actually a lot like Valorant is now, where it was kind of like CS mixed with Magic, but it was not very popular. It was still $60 full price release, and did not have a single player campaign, was only multiplayer, and it only really had a handful of maps. So it was a bad value proposition for people that were looking at games. Not everybody was into the online only thing at the time, and so it kind of died pretty fast. Nighttime grass. Oh well. Let's see. Is there anything else I want to put in here? I guess there could be some rocks or something like that. Normally I make maps when I already have a narrative purpose in mind. Making maps by themselves is a little harder. You know, we could add some water moving through this. That could be cool. I haven't even shown what sewer water. Yeah, that's more like what it would look like in this place, probably. Oh, I'd have to increase my opacity up. It's kind of... just... I'm not sure that even necessarily looks like water here, but maybe if we mix it with some other water, get a little bit more of a liquidy look. Yeah, it kind of works. This main tree could probably be a little bit bigger. And then I wonder, we'll just have a big crack of lightning. Yeah. There we go. No, let's not do that. Let's see, do any of these lights? I wonder, can I reduce the opacity? Yes, I can. Let's see. Any other? Let's try. What does this look like? I don't know that I like having the 3 different spotlights, but I do want kind of a bigger light. So let's try this one because it still has that kind of ray of light thing. Let's make it nice and big, and then majorly decrease the opacity, but maybe still make it at an angle. Actually, can I? Oh, I don't think I can zoom out any farther than this. There we go. That's kind of interesting. Is there a way to paint on top of objects? I believe that some of the stamps kind of look like paint. Let me open this up again real quick. Like, I think there's a shadow. Isn't there? I could have sworn there was. Oh, maybe it was a brush. Shadow. Yeah, so there's things like a shadow texture that you can paint on. Like, I could make this look kind of like, I guess I should up the opacity. Like this. I guess I could probably better off. I'm a really bad artist, so figuring out how these shadows would go is a little beyond me, but you do something like that. Let me actually change to another map that can show that off better. We'll just call this Swampy Forest. Very creative and good name. Return to maps. Brush tool really helped in there, I guess is a good differential for Inkarnate. Got a drop, but again, thanks. Thank you, Brennan. It was awesome having you in. The brush tool. Yeah, there's a lot of cool things that the brush tool can do. So let's do another fantasy battle map. Do custom height. We'll do, actually, let's just do one of the 4x3s. Maybe a different shape will make me a little more creative. Here, we're going to quickly make this all grass-based. Every time they change me to foreground. I'm not actually even sure what you can paint on with the foreground. So we're going to do this, and we're going to make it a little dirtier looking real quick, just so it's not super bright. Just so it's got a little bit more texture on it. Let's do a campfire thing, for example, because that I can figure out the shadows for a little bit easier. And actually, let me turn the grid on too, so I can make it not that kind of grid. Yeah, this is a good size for this. We'll place a nice big fire pit. Oh, there's actually an already lit one. So we'll go with that. And then let's place some other camping stuff, like tents. And we'll use this one. 10 feet is probably a reasonable size for camp, or for a tent. We'll place one of these, and then we'll place one of these, and then we can come over here, grab the shadow brush, shrink this down a little bit, and we can place in a shadow for how the campfire is casting out. There we go. And then let's place a couple other things over here just as other examples. What's some stuff that would be in a campfire? You'd probably have some logs nearby, or at least a couple that they're sitting on. Place a couple of those here. Come back, we'll do a little more shadow out that way. So this is definitely one of the nice things about Inkarnate compared to DungeonDraft is that you can kind of paint in these shadows, which is great because with DungeonDraft you'd have to like place a wall underneath the object. There's only one layer that actually goes above walls, so placing that is kind of a pain. And then let's also place some trees, some normal, not dead trees. We'll keep on random stamps so that it will shift between. We'll place some of this stuff around in little stacks. There we go. Got a nice little campground area. We can place some other stuff. Let's see. I actually kind of want there to be a little bit more fire in this. Place that on top there. So now we've got a much brighter fire. Yes, that's looking good. Let's try to figure out what this foreground brush is for. I guess I can see that it's doing something. I don't know what it's doing though. Huh. Oh well. It seems like a good program. Yeah, it's definitely a good program, especially for things other than just considering that you can make other types of maps with it. Like you can make these great regional maps or city maps and stuff like that. Like this is kind of just a flavor image that I made for a city dock area. And we'll go back to maps. You have to use the dig first. Oh, so it's something that comes into play when you have actual water in the maps. And so I've got these other world maps and things like that. So it's awesome for a one-stop shop to make all kinds of different maps. And yeah, I guess that's actually something that I haven't shown at all, is that you can dig in and you can place water. Actually, wait, what? Subtract. The world. I feel like I understood this better when I was using it last night. Nope. It's not add because I'm not trying to add things. Let me check actually. Oh, is it because I'm still on foreground and I should be on background? Nope. Or maybe it's now supposed to be subtract. Nope. Oof. Let me do one thing. Create new map. Fantasy regional or fantasy world. Yeah, we'll do that. Create another one real quick. Oh, so it's that it starts with water in these and you add land, whereas in this one it kind of started with land, or was I painting grass onto land? I'm not sure. I don't really need any water for this zone, so that's not a big deal. But there is also water in here if we wanted to add a little lake coming in from the side or something. Can just increase the opacity. But then tree probably wouldn't be that close to where the water is. But yeah, you get the idea. Okay. So that's a nice, simple camping scene. Is there any other cool tokens that we want to put in to the camping scene? Oh yeah, I guess there's other plants and things that we could place around just to give a little bit more texture. Oh, I want these to be random stamps. So let's see, place some of those here. Ah, that still didn't turn random stamps on. So that, random stamps. Now we should get some actually random stamps as we're placing them. There we go, that was on me. Place a couple different plant types throughout the area just to give a little bit more texture to it. There we go. Anything else? We could add some miscellaneous stones. If that's your deal. It's doing both of them. Not necessarily what I wanted. So we'll get rid of that one. We'll add more shadow behind this. Be super cool. Well. There we go. It's start in the background and you use the dig to put the foreground. This differentiates the two types to brush. Okay. So we'll try that fresh in a new battle map so that I can figure it out and stop making dumb mistakes. Campsite, that one's good enough. Just as a quick test of kind of like an outdoor thing. Let's return to maps. Create new map. Fantasy battle map. Choose style. This one, we're going to figure out how this brush works so that okay. So this adds, subtracts, okay. Easy peasy. And and then there's foreground and background. Place that there. And then come back to this, try adding. Okay. Subtracting. Nope. Okay. So I guess that makes a little bit more sense now. Let's try to make a nice deserty thing. All right, background. There we go. That's a lot of sand. This is a different type of sand. Let's see what this one looks like. This is kind of more what I'm looking for, but maybe it would look good put on top of it. There we go. Let's see. Are there any other sands that I want to stack on top? Let's see what a little bit of this looks like. Okay, that adds a little bit more to it. Okay, so let's jump into the stamps. And find that big scary skeleton or something. So we can do Titan face, Titan female face, Titan skull, crazy hand. I kind of like this. This is immediately what I was thinking. Let's use this for something, because people will see that and they'll be like, what in the hell? I want to find out more about that thing. And then let's see what other stuff. I guess we could have hands on either side of it. Maybe kind of like reaching up. To create house floors, the shape tool is really good. You know, that's actually a really good point. Did you say you were going to do a Foundry self-hosting video? I've been having all kinds of trouble getting that to work. All but opened up my router. Yes, I'm making a self-hosting video. If anybody wants to give it a try, it's based on... actually, I don't have it in Discord anymore. I think I have it bookmarked, though. Yeah. So it's based off of Ben Price's guide, which uses Docker, Trafic, or it might be pronounced traffic, I'm not actually sure, and Portainer. I also had a lot of trouble getting things hosted and working properly. And I went through an early draft of this with Ben and ran through it with him and cleared up some parts of the tutorial, added some additional information, like I gave him some of this and made clear a couple of the other changes. And I'll post this link in the chat so you can follow this if you want and you don't want to wait for my video, because this is what my video is going to be based on. It's going to have slightly different setup that I think will be a little bit easier. I don't think there's going to be a need for SSH or anything like that. But you can definitely follow this and get it working. That's how I have my game hosted currently. How big can the map be, and does it have overlay so I can trace older maps? So that's actually a very good question. It does not have built-in tracing functionality, but I did kind of find a way around that, in that, so you can come here, and actually I don't know what the max size is. It's a good question. I wonder if I can let's try 20,000 by 20,000 and see what happens. Oh. And let's just see if we can actually export that. Okay, so it looks like the maximum export resolution is 8K. That's useful information. So if you want to go much bigger than that, you're a little bit out of luck, but that's pretty damn big. So I'm not entirely sure what this represents by setting that to 20,000. I guess it's editor resolution or something. Oh, right. But as I was saying, so if I create a new map, we can come here and we'll do this. And I like to use Asgar's fantasy map generator as a tool to get started. Let's get one a little bit different than that. That one's not super interesting. Yeah, that's a cooler shape. So I found a tool called, what was it called? I tweeted about it, so I'm going to have to check that because I don't remember what it is off the top of my head. On top replica, that's what it is. And it's a free and open source tool. Crap, what did I just say that it was? On top replica. So you can get it for free on GitHub. And basically what it lets you do is it lets you take a window and place it permanently on top of all of your other windows. And I shouldn't say permanently, really, but, and this is what you get when you open it. And I'll do select window, and we're gonna do Asgar's fantasy map generator. And so we see that we've got this here now. So I can move this over here. I think I can minimize it. Yeah, I can minimize it. And then you can resize it to be bigger. And so what I do is zoom out of this as much as I can or actually I guess you could zoom in as much as you wanted, that so that it's still visible on your screen. And then you can take this and make it as big as you can. And let me unminimize this actually, because there we go. I want the whole thing visible. There we go. So I'll make that as big as this is, and then you can come in and do opacity 25%. And then what was the other setting? Oh yeah, advanced, enable click-through. And with that enabled, you can make your mouse whatever size you need. You won't want to zoom in or out while you're doing it, but then you can basically trace out all the map, do that, and fill it in, and you can do that all the way around. And then when you're ready, you can click on this and just close window, and you'll have your map there, and you can go in and fill out any extra stuff that you want. So that's kind of a hacky workaround to it. There's another one posted in the Inkarnate Reddit, but that's a good way to get around anything that won't let you like have a tracing setup in it. I was planning on making a video on that eventually, but I know it's not going to be either this one or the next one, since those are going to be dedicated to the hosting videos. But so y'all can have that as a freebie. Though I do intend to probably still make it in the future, but that might just be part of a larger video on Inkarnate, because I think I'm going to do an Inkarnate basic series, because I like Inkarnate a lot, especially for world maps. I like it a lot better for world maps than I liked DungeonDraft. So this is kind of the concept for this one. We're going to have this with its hands coming up, and maybe this will be an environmental combat map. I'm not sure. So we'll place that there, and is there a way that I can control lighting in this? Like the overall color in here? I don't think that there is, but feel free to correct me in the chat if there is. Oh yeah, the Titan sword. Ooh, there's a Titan broken sword too. That looks badass. Let's see. Wonder. Or, you know what, I could even take the broken one, put that in its hands, that's kind of neat. But this one also looks so sick. I wonder if I put it. If any of this looks cool, let me know, because I'm curious what y'all think. Having it stabbed in is kind of funny, but it's not really what we're going for. Having it off looks a little weird. But yeah, having this kind of plunged in, or I guess I could even make it like a more normal height, like you'd have to come and get it. Yeah, probably that positioning is, or like that angle is probably the best. But it could be set up like that. Somebody has to go into giant mode to get at it. We'll do that for now. Let's see. Are there any other super cool? I guess we could just hide a bunch of other skulls around. Or not hide, but have. Nah. Just some nice thatched roof. That's probably what would make sense in this horrible desert environment. Oh, you know what? There's... I don't know how to spell it. Does it really start with an I? I guess it does. Hieroglyph. Who would have ever thought? Probably everybody but me. Wonder if we placed... Oh, that is one frustrating thing, is you place something and it keeps it selected. I just need to get used to that workflow, I think. But I have not yet, and as a result, it annoys me sometimes. My biggest regret is that we don't have sci-fi assets. You know, I hear that a lot, and I've thought about, because I'm not an artist, but I did think about hiring somebody to make some sci-fi assets, just because I feel for the sci-fi people out there that are struggling to run their games because there's no assets to make the maps that they want to play. And I was thinking about putting that as like an incentive on Patreon, but I feel bad putting anything behind a Patreon limit. That's why everything else I make is free, and there's only like small things on Patreon. Not anything that people would really, really want for themselves, but maybe. There we go. I'll just give this kind of a cool platform. Get this rotated around. How did I wind up with this? Oh. Do that. Then we can push this one up a little bit more. There we go. Let's see, is there... No, I guess there's just longer pieces. I don't know that those hieroglyphs make it any better. I guess I can maybe put them around the whole thing? Around the whole map? I don't know. No, sword. You stay put. Oh yeah, I kind of like that a little better. Though I think there's bigger hieroglyph walls that I can use. Maybe not. Maybe these are all the same size. No, that looks a little longer. Might just be delusion though. For those of you that are looking for sci-fi assets, what kind of sci-fi assets are you looking for? Are they like Star Warsy, or are they Star Trekky, or something else? I'm curious about what types of games people are running. Like, are you running the Star Wars RPG, or are you running Shadowrun or Cyberpunk or anything? Cyberpunk is one that I'd really like to play, especially before the new game comes out. I think that'd be a lot of fun, because the game looks super sick, but they keep delaying it, so I might as well play the tabletop role-playing version of it until it comes out. Mothership, Alien, Cyberpunk. So I have not actually heard of the first two. I know what Cyberpunk is, but I I maybe have heard of Mothership, and if Alien is like Alien, then I know about that, but I didn't know that they had a role-playing game version. That's pretty cool. How did I wind up having to do like overlapping stuff on the bottom but not on the top? That doesn't make an awful lot of sense. So I'll just do that. I should not have done it that way. So let's get rid of that. Copy. Oh, that's how I was able to get away with it being incorrectly sized, because some of it was hiding behind the Satan guy. Okay, that makes sense. We'll fix that in a moment. Mothership is great, and yes, Alien is Alien. It's a lot of alien in the same. It's like that buffalo, 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 buffalo sentence. Okay. Are there any crazy different rule sets for the sci-fi games compared to D&D, or is it at all similar? Like, would I be going in with basically zero usable knowledge other than like knowing you have to roll to do things? Because it's so much effort to learn a new system. But it does seem worth it for some of this stuff. And let's try to get that just a little higher. There we go. Now I just need another tiny piece to fill this in. I have no idea what I'm doing or if I even like it, but here we are. From Tales from the Loop. Oh, cool. His thumbs are backwards. Oh, his thumbs are backwards. That's a good point. Yeah, that's right. There we go. Man, I'm dumb. I even flipped them thinking that I was making them correct. There we go. And maybe we'll get rid of these. I don't know what that makes this. This room is getting weirder. Mothership can be shown to new players in minutes. Oh, that's pretty awesome. I'll have to take a look at that. I'm gonna open a new tab for it. Does it have a Foundry system? I don't actually know all the systems that do have Foundry support. Kind of makes it look like a picture frame, having all that around. Might have just wasted a bunch of time doing that. Yeah. I might be losing steam. Oh my god, it's 11:30. Yeah, so I might only go for a little bit more. I was only planning on doing a couple hours just to kind of mess around. I was hoping to have made something cooler. But this is okay. I'll leave it just for now. Time for lunch. Wait a second. Oh my god, PM. When I looked at this earlier, I thought, oh wow, they're only a couple hours after us. I thought it was going to be 1:30 a.m. Wow. I am very geographically challenged. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were the person who said that they were in Australia. Okay, in Asia. That makes that I can piece that one together a little more easily. Um, can you duplicate maps? Yes, you can. Because I do actually. Nah, we're not gonna duplicate it. Let's try at least one more. Let's see. What are we feeling? Let's look at some of our brush options and see. Or I guess I haven't tried to do any like building places. I think they've all been outside, haven't they? Yeah, I guess this was kind of inside. I should have used the shape tool to make those stone bits. Let's see. We do something like this. And let's try that. So I thought what this would do would let me fill it in. Perhaps I was wrong about that. Oh, I didn't realize it was just out of sight. Cool. So let's get rid of that now. Try it again. Apply. Okay, cool. Yeah, so we could try to do like a little city or something like that. Can do some brick walls maybe. I'm not a huge fan of the way the brick wall looks. Maybe mud brick. Nah. Maybe just stone kind of blends in a little bit too much. So maybe brick it is. That's not bad. Let's do like a kind of tavern or something. I also wish that I knew when this was perfectly straight. Wow, I just noticed that you can mix the fantasy regional H2. Yeah, that is another nice thing with this. Being able to go into the catalog and seeing all of these additional maps that are still synced up. So maybe we could try doing something crazy and using... I wonder what this looks like. Probably a little weird. Let's then do this. We'll grab sewer filth. It's a extreme name. I guess I didn't need to do all of those, did I? Didn't really need to do any of them, but here we are. Yeah, let's just get rid of these real quick. We can add them back in if we want. Yeah, so you can get a decent effect mixing and matching different pieces of this. So this kind of takes it from orthographic, where it's all top down, to a mixture of orthographic and isometric, which is a little trippy, but, you know, not bad. I'm sure that more talented artists than me could do more interesting things with it. Yeah, so let's get these lined up a little bit better. Yeah, and if there's anything anybody wants to see or know about Inkarnate or Foundry or anything, I'm kind of just tinkering around with this. Happy to talk about or show anything different. We can take a look at Tom Kartos's map that just came out in that exclusive Foundry module, which is cool. I'm curious what y'all think about what... I don't know if Atropos is trying to get these deals, like if he's pursuing them and paying people to make them or to release them, or if people are coming to them and being like, hey, you have a popular platform, I want to get my name out, can I make a pack that you can release? Because I mean, it definitely gets a lot of eyes on it, and I wound up checking out people's Patreons as a result of it. I've actually been meaning to email Will Savino to see if I can use his music when I'm streaming, because I'm using the same 4 tracks on loop from the Humble Bundle music pack, and I am starting to lose my mind a little bit. It'd be nice to have something else. I don't know what shape I'm making this or where it's going to wind up, but that's okay. What does Bob Ross say? They're all just happy little accidents. There we go. Yeah, so that's a shape. I guess that's as good as any. Let's see. Do a square. Actually, does this let you do... Okay, so it's only a polygon. That makes sense. Yeah, so we'll just do a couple squares. We can do... There's a wood, right? Yeah, wooden floor. Do that. We'll just apply it to this whole area, and then we can more easily go over this section with, okay, I guess the stone is gone. Apply. There we go. So that's making progress. So we can have probably the bar over here. Let's get rid of these HD assets. Broken prison bars. Oh, that's not great. Tavern. Nope. Long table. Yeah, we'll do a couple of these. Cool. It will be great to have you showing us the simple world system in Foundry to play with the generic system when you do not yet have the module in Foundry. Yeah, there's actually a great video, or not a great video, a great series of articles written. Sorry, just got a message. Everything's still cool. Foundry Wiki. Oh, nope, this is not what I wanted. Foundry Community Wiki. This is what I was looking for. System development. So this is more specifically on system development, but you will learn something about systems and using them by reading this. I do eventually want to make a video on, basically a video version of this article. I talked to the person who wrote it and because they also made some other modules and things like that. I called it out in one of the videos. I can't remember which one it was, but it's great. And so eventually I'd like to do something there too. But yeah, going over, I've gotten a lot of requests for people asking about stuff for the Simple World system, and generally how to do things for systems that aren't supported in Foundry. One of the problems is that since I don't play any of the other systems, I'm not sure what's necessary, like what you'd want to know. I guess rolling dice, adding in maps, but all that's still served by the normal Foundry Basics videos. I probably need to play a system that wasn't supported in Foundry to figure out what specific pain points were needed. I guess movement through the map, probably, that kind of thing. And then I'd also have to find out what in the world is included in the Simple World system. Let's do some barrels, because we are in a bar. There we go. We got some barrels placed. We'll have a couple other types off to the side. So actually, anybody who plays a system that isn't supported by Foundry, if you've got any specific things you want to know, please feel free to let me know. I'll write them down, get them noted, and hopefully I can cover it in a video once I get a chance that I can dive in and figure it out myself. Probably should have had more. I didn't realize there were going to be more table types. It's funny, there's multiple different types of table, but only one door. That's a call out for you, listener, when you eventually come back and listen to the rest of this stream tomorrow. That doesn't really look like a table. Maybe if I shrink it down a little bit, it'll be better. Yeah, there we go. Probably need some chairs. Whew, I'm starting to run on empty. My brain is giving up on me. Might use some of these, but just tinier to be other chairs. Just place a bunch of these in different places. This was where all the popular people were sitting. Human supplied randomness never looks quite as good as actual randomness for some reason. Well, I guess we need some more of these for this table. There we go. Let's put some plates and food. I guess we could put rocking chair somewhere. That looks a little weird. Yes, we got lots of plate options. Thank God. What would we ever do? Ooh, random stamps. We'll definitely want to enable that so we can get a little variation in the plates that we're placing. Not everybody's eating, which makes sense. Some of these will have forks and stuff. Some of them will look a little used. Keep pulling all these up. There we go. Okay. And then water. I probably should have had some of these chairs for the bar. So it is nice that it pastes to where your mouse is. I like that. I think that's something that DungeonDraft actually does like randomly. I can't remember. Let's see. So let's select this. Copy it. Yeah, it just... Oh wait, no, I remember. It pastes it to the exact center of where your screen is, which is such a strange... Like, I understand why. That's probably the thing. It probably defaults to whatever 00 is or something on the coordinate screen of your screen. But, oh yeah, and fun fact for everybody, there is a new version of this out. I'm going to move this over here real fast. I'll download it actually. There is test support for Mac in this version of DungeonDraft. So if you use a Mac, you will have probably more success with this than you would have running it in Wine. So I would highly recommend it. Let me close DungeonDraft. We'll install it and we can take a look at some of the new stuff. Because there are some new features, there's some new crash fixes. I've been meaning to make a video on it, but I didn't want to make a video on it talking about the test Mac support until the Mac support was a little better, because I don't want to get Megasploot slammed with a bunch of people being like, why doesn't it work on my Mac? And he has to explain 1,000 times that it's just test support. It's not fully ready yet, and all that stuff. So let's get this opening. While that happens, I'm going to keep populating this tavern with, let's add some food. Seafood. The only thing that is missing is a wall tool and more doors. Yeah, and the wall tool is coming. I don't know when it's coming, but they did mention it specifically in their feature release. So I'm excited for that. And I'm excited to mess around with it some more, because once I get a better feel for it, I'll make better stuff. Hopefully, at least. I always like to have a random cheese block. If you're in the Tailspire Discord or anything, you know how much they all love. Let's just put a whole turkey on that plate. How much they love their cheese wheels. These kind of look raw, but that's okay. I think a lot of these would look better zoomed in or as part of bigger things, but that's okay. I'm a bad artist, and this is just a live stream. Once I do an actual video on this, I'm hoping to be a little better and be able to show it off more enjoyably, or with things that actually like look good. Yeah, like designing this where there was a barn section underneath would have been smart. Could probably have a well outside. More barrels. I think I already used barrels. Yeah. Ooh, somebody's having late breakfast. That's always fun. How would these look? That's such a kind of confusing angle for that to be drawn at. I guess I understand why, though. Oh, if this is a tavern, I probably should have put a place where there could be beds. Broken sacks. Nah. Yeah, so a lot of the troubles with this are mostly just coming from me being bad at it, but hopefully it's nice for y'all to see the tokens and at least what the rough build experience is like. And I should, to their benefit, show this isn't what I wanted. Inkarnate RPG. Ah, too loud. Actually, let's go to their YouTube because the quality in... these are my competitors. We can't look at them. Just kidding. I'll have that quiet. So this is some of the maps that they've made, which are way better than the ones I've made. So take this more as an example of the type of thing that you can do with Inkarnate if you're creative and good at that kind of thing. But some of these just look amazing. They're so detailed. And the art style is so different from what we see with stuff like DungeonDraft. And there's some things that I need to learn how they did, like how they did that in black and white. I think there's actually filters that you can apply to these too, so we'll take a look at that in a second. Like the way that they've layered and stacked so many different assets. The layering in Inkarnate is a lot easier than it is with DungeonDraft, and I understand why it is the way that it is because of the layers and how light interacts with them, because they have actual placeable light, whereas Inkarnate doesn't. But Inkarnate does have those like light placements that you can put down that look really good. So actually, let's take a look at that color filter. Yeah, so they've got like a sepia filter, grayscale, and a winter, and you can do that with varying intensities. There's red sky, night scene. Oh, so I probably should have used that in the fire or campfire scene that I was working on. Cold and warm. Can pump all these up or really reduce them down, just get a subtle effect. So that's really nice. Disable that. And there is a world generator for I actually don't know what that would do inside of the battle map. We'll do a couple little tests near here at the end. So remind me, I want to set night mode on the campfire map. I want to try a world generator in the battle map style. And was there anything else? Can't remember. Ooh, they have a lot of chains. I've been using a lot of chains recently. I had a chain devil. What was the other thing that was involved with chains? I can't remember. But you can make super cool sewers too. I should kind of show some of these other assets for the completely different types of maps that you can make. Like you couldn't really do something like this in DungeonDraft. Not super easily, at least. You could make something like it though. But again, the art style is just so different. And there's so many unique set piece objects here like this. I would love to get all these assets and pull them into DungeonDraft, or take some of the functionality of DungeonDraft and pull it into here. Like I also like that they have all these kinds of things. They have ways of titling your areas. This is all stuff that DungeonDraft doesn't have, but would be super cool. Like, let's call this the done in. That's a reference to an early video. Let's set this to be black. Like having that functionality is super cool and gives you a nice pièce de résistance to your maps that adds some good texture to it. Oh, I'm sorry. Frag and Pollard, to a beginner, which map editor would you recommend to start with? Ooh. That's hard to say. If you want, one I will say start with Inkarnate because it's free. You can make world maps, regional maps, city maps, and battle map styles, all in Inkarnate, all for free. You will not have access to all of the stamps and all of the brushes and all of that stuff, but you can get a feel for the tool and putting things and placing them around in different ways. There's really not very good educational content for Inkarnate, which is one of the reasons why I want to do a basics series on it, because nobody else has really gone through how to do everything, and I need to learn how to do everything. So give Inkarnate a try first, because you can do it for free. If there's a lot of things that annoy you or frustrate you, then maybe watch some of my DungeonDraft videos, see if it deals with those issues for you, and then give DungeonDraft a try. I think my go-to map builder will probably still be DungeonDraft until they get a wall tool. Once they get a wall tool in here, and then it's going to be a big different story, because I'll be able to more easily place walls. Placing walls right now is kind of a pain. But if you're doing mostly outdoor maps or environmental maps, that's not really a big problem, and there's a lot of super cool assets. So it's hard to say which one would be better. Neither one is hard to use, but if you also only want to spend $25, but you want to be able to make world, fantasy, or world and regional maps and stuff like that, then Inkarnate really is your only choice, unless you want to spend $30 for WonderDraft and 20 or $30 for DungeonDraft too. So those are all kind of things to keep in mind. What about city maps? What would you suggest? You could make city maps with DungeonDraft, but since DungeonDraft struggles to export at 100 by 100, depending on what pixel density or pixels per inch you're using, so probably not DungeonDraft for city maps unless you're making just small parts of cities, which you could definitely do. Inkarnate is good. And one other thing I should say about Inkarnate is that it is isometric. So when I say you can make a city map in Inkarnate, it's going to look more like this, where you've got kind of an angle to everything. You can't make a top-down city map where you could have all of the buildings and everything like that sorted out. You could kind of do that now with this, because you do have some of these like pre-designed buildings and stuff like that, which is another cool thing that it has that DungeonDraft does not have. Let's get back to my maps. We'll create a new one real quick just to take a look at what that might look like. So we'll do fantasy battle map. Choose style, that's all good. And oh, I got this back. See, now I have this battle map style beta access thing. So they must be doing some kind of A/B testing, or something's going on where I'm getting inconsistent access to this. But I'm not sure what that would be. But it's really nice having these categories off to the left that you can scroll through. But, oh yeah, what was I saying? We could place a bunch of these down that look small. Or actually, let me get rid of these, change that to random, and we'll just place a bunch down in different places. Obviously, you wouldn't really do it this way, and there are other building types that you can select. And then if we just come over here, grab this, and I don't know, whatever we want to use for the flooring. Let's say on the inside they've all got this. We'll say this just for whatever reason. And you could then apply. Oh, I have to change to background. Apply. Apply. Well. Nope, that is not doing what I want it to do. Yeah, we'll just kind of quickly zoom through placing this. So you get the idea. You could kind of do a city map like this and have an actual interior view and export it. So that might be a good bet. In DungeonDraft, you couldn't really have this many buildings visible unless you were willing to make it so that it wasn't to scale. Because like in DungeonDraft, oh god. There we go. Let's get out the wall tool. We could place a bunch of different buildings, and this could be a city. But the one issue with DungeonDraft is that these walls, you can't make them smaller or bigger. So even if you tried to say that this was an entire building, and it was at a much smaller scale, that wall was so big that it's hard to think of it as being a smaller area, if that makes any sense. Let me try to get rid of... Oh, nope, that didn't do what I wanted. But like I said, this did just have another release, so there's more assets, more features, all that stuff. I don't remember exactly what it was, but oh yeah, so that's a basic city map. This is a basic world map that I made just as a demo in another video recently, when I was showing off Legend Keeper. And this is a bad looking map, but they have a bunch of different styles that you can use. Like this is a parchment style one that's probably more in line with the style of DungeonDraft. And it looks pretty cool. My friend made this, and I like it. I really shouldn't be looking at it though, because this is for our game, but I just wanted to use it as an example. Oh, we can look at some of their example worlds. Those are better. So these are all things that people, or I think they specifically have made with Inkarnate at different scales. So this is regional. This is Fantasy World, which is my favorite style personally. Like especially that floating building down there in the center looks so sweet. A lot of this looks really cool. And then this is the parchment style. Much more DungeonDrafty, but it's more assets. And I like the style still a little bit more than DungeonDraft. For some reason, I can't figure out scale for world maps in DungeonDraft or Inkarnate, so I'm never very pleased with how my results come out. But I think I've probably seen more impressive things coming out of Inkarnate than DungeonDraft, but that might just be an aesthetic choice. If you like the aesthetics of DungeonDraft, then, you know, that is what it is. So these are kind of the fantasy regional classics. So these are kind of like more mood things than actual like navigable cities, but still super cool. I like them a lot. Oh yeah, I wanted to show something else. Campsite. Let's put that in that night mode filter and just see what that looks like. Color filter, enable. Ooh, even that looks kind of cool. It looks like very spooky. I'd love to use this in like a zombie campaign or something. And like these shadows that you just can't really get in DungeonDraft unless you start placing walls under things. Grayscale looks cool. Yeah, a lot of these look great. Winter, that's a little too green, but you could of course go in and reduce the intensity. Red sky, that's pretty sweet looking. Oh yeah, I like that a lot. Especially if you came in and added oh yeah, there are some just kind of circle lights. I wish you could change the colors of these a little bit. because that's not too bad looking. That's kind of cool. I don't know if it looks like what I would want it to, but you know what? I kind of like it better with it than without it. What do y'all think about that? Let's keep looking at some of the other parchment. Yeah, that looks cool too. This would be awesome in like an Old West kind of thing. And I'm actually working on a piece for my campaign that's gonna have kind of like a Dust Bowl kind of section. It'll be like a very like cowboy kind of area. The idea is that it's gonna be like this desert region where there's kind of like a mad air genasi or genie or something who's been trapped, but not trapped enough that it was fully contained. It was enough that it couldn't wreak total havoc, but it started just kicking up these massive sandstorms that are constantly going on in this area. But the mixture of the magic and the sand and the underlying like elements in the area are enough to create this special element. I don't know what it'll be. It might be like residuum or residium or whatever it is in Critical Role, but probably not. So people move there, like these really hardy cowboy miner type people, and they have to like navigate through these sand storms to try to collect whatever this element is as it's whipping around. But it's really dangerous because you can get lost and there's monsters, and the storm itself will try to attack you. That's all some stuff that I'm kind of pitter-pattering around with in my head. Yeah, so even going. Yeah, I really like the way that you can get some things to look in Inkarnate. So I don't like it so much when it's just white without any of the effects on, but when the effects are on, it definitely makes more sense. I wonder if I brought it up and then... Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. Oh, it's not Control D, it's just D. Yeah, so that's interesting. What was the other thing that I said I wanted to test? It was the night mode. And other than that, I've forgotten. Here, let's actually go back to this. We'll turn off the filter. Save that. I'll come and look at it later. And what was I doing over here? I don't remember. My whole brain is giving up on me. This will probably be the last little bit. I'm looking for something to add. World generator. Yeah, that's what it was. You're a genius, Mana. Do you pronounce it Mana or Mana? Or I guess I can just call you Eternal. That would probably be the easier way. Okay, world generator. Oh, not at all what I meant to do. Let's see. Okay. So... not what I would consider as useful in the battle map style, but I have no idea how this would work in battle map style. It would be too complex with all the assets and everything to really make it work. But that's interesting. And just so everybody can know how that normally works, when you're making a world map or a regional map or anything like that, we'll do fantasy world because that's my favorite. One other thing about this for anybody that's looking at it is it seems to me like Inkarnate is a little easier on the system than whatchamadoogs than DungeonDraft is. It seems to me, I haven't actually done any testing. I plan on it, but yeah, so this is what it normally does, is it will generate land masses for you, and then you can go through, go to your brush options, and look at all these options. Holy cow. I almost always go with like a grass mix. You can start brushing onto everything. Let's make this a bigger brush so that goes a little faster. I guess not everything has to be grass. We'll do grassy north and here I'm just reducing the opacity using a keyboard command. There we go. So we'll just layer those two on top of each other, and then we'll grab like a snow thing to do down here. So you can get some pretty cool stuff. And there's lots of great tokens in here too, all with a similar consistent style, which is always the most frustrating thing with WonderDraft or DungeonDraft, is trying to keep assets that make sense and look alike. That issue is pretty much taken care of here. You can start adding mountains all over the place. And actually, I would say another thing is that I kind of like their radius and density options more than I do the like scatter tool. So like if I wanted to place a bunch of these pine trees down, I can make a big brush and I can control the size of the brush. I can control the density. If I want to drop this down to 30, then I'll get much more limited tree placement, and it's all just super cool. You can reduce the radius down and place just massive amounts of them. One thing to keep in mind is that this may cripple your system, because you'll also notice that these are all placed as individual items. So these are all individual little items in your browser that your computer is going to have to handle the location and positioning for. But I haven't ever seen it really crash my system, but I do have a not insignificantly capable system. I've got an 8700K and 16 gigs of RAM. So actually let's I'm going to run on top replica again, and I'm going to keep select window, task manager. Okay, so I'll move this over here, and we can watch what happens to my CPU when I start placing all of those trees. We'll make it a little smaller. Oh, I'm on a brush, not the token. $54. Okay, that's not bad. RAM usage didn't change too much, I don't think. Let's go up to maximum density though. Oh yeah, even just changing to that, it spiked up to 50. Now let's try placing them. Actually not bad. Yeah, I kind of expected more usage from the GPU or the CPU, depending on however they've got this design. Let's do it much bigger. Just cover everything. Yeah, there we go. Now we're at least lagging out, but that might just be JavaScript failing to keep up. Yeah. All right, that's actually not bad. I take everything back. I thought that was going to spike more. Yeah, even undoing all of it is super simple. And thank you for showing us a bunch of great stuff. Have a great night. You too, Emmanuel. Or Emmanuel, or however it is pronounced in your local area. Force generation? Yeah, force generation could be a useful tool. I could see for battle maps having it generate either forest or or the location of any like select collection of assets that you pick, like either trees or rocks or maybe even water brushes or something like that, to provide just a general random area that you can then work within. For me, starting out with an empty screen is super hard. Trees look nice too. Yeah, and that's one of my favorite things about Inkarnate is how good the assets look. And there's so many different types. Like there's 7 different pine trees. There's all these other like I would say WonderDrafty, but I think Inkarnate's been around at least as long or longer as WonderDraft. But I started using WonderDraft first, so it's kind of my point of reference. There's like all these swamp trees. So depending on what type of map you're making and at like what scale you're making it, it can look cool. And anybody who's watched like Project Dios or Deos, I'm not sure how to pronounce it. This is kind of like their brush fill tool for forests, where it makes the outline and then the center area, but it's a little bit more detailed. So yeah, this is what I'm making my homebrew world map in, that I haven't given my players because they haven't found a place with a map, partially because I haven't finished making the map yet, but you know, you gotta do what you gotta do. Let's put a hidden trapdoor in here. I started learning Foundry about 3 or 4 days ago, and most of the time has been spent watching all of tutorial videos. Thanks for all the great content. I'm glad that you like it. I know I am sorry that it takes multiple days to be able to watch all of it. And actually, this is a good opportunity for me to ask what actual people who watch the videos think. I have been considering remaking the first 6 videos, first 6 or 7 videos. I don't remember. I don't know how YouTube picks this stuff to recommend it to me, but whatever. But if we go back to, so how many was it before I moved and got proper lighting? So the first 9 basically probably need to be remade because they're all very long and not as detailed or well paced as I feel like the new videos are. Feel free to tell me that the new ones are also too long and boring, but I've been thinking about recreating those, especially since the first one, since it's not Patreon software anymore, and I've had some people reach out and say that they found it confusing and they thought that everybody had to buy a copy of Foundry, which isn't the case, and I don't want to mislead anybody on it. So I've been thinking about that, but I don't want to do it if it's going to annoy people. If they're going to be like, why am I getting the same videos again? And also I know Foundry better now, so I think I can make more informative and more structured content, but there's also so many new videos that still need to be made that it's hard to find the time to say. There shouldn't be a well in the middle of a city. That doesn't make any sense. I don't think you have to do it, but I wouldn't find it annoying if you did. That's good to know. We'll put big rug. For basics, they're not too long. Remake only is there. That makes sense. I should probably rewatch them, but that's going to be very awkward. I wonder if this would look better below. No, I kind of like it better above. I like how it kind of interacts, though. I saw them all in one go this night, and YouTube sent me on your YouTube stream right after. Oh man, so you have probably had more than enough of me. thank you for watching all of them, though. I hope that they were useful. If any of them you didn't like or found more confusing than others, I know some people have not had amazing experiences with the lighting video, but that's because lighting is kind of complex in Foundry, and it doesn't work as intuitively as I would like. And there's not an awful lot that I can do about that, because there's some features that people want to be there that just isn't there, and there's no real way to get it. Maybe I'll make this the entrance, have that be like a nice patio area. Let's put a door. Lister, I'm gonna find your one door and place it here. Oh, there we go. And we'll get rid of the wall behind it. Oh, now I need skinny wall, or tiny wall. Oh, that actually fits quite well. I think you can add annotations to existing videos. It's not the greatest, but it could work as a quick fix for the Patreon confusion. Yeah, that's a good point. One frustrating thing with the annotations, though, is that you have to put a tag in the video that forces annotations to be on. I wish YouTube got rid of so many things that I liked before I ever started making videos on YouTube. Like they used to have those like little cards that you could place at any point in a video. Now, if you want to add something to a video, you just get those little, like that little eye in the top right hand corner that pops out, which would still be useful, and I should probably put something there. Though personally, I didn't understand the confusion. I thought what I said was very clear in terms of how many people had to buy it, but I had 2 people say that they disagreed with it. And I guess to a certain extent, there's always going to be people who could misunderstand, but I do worry that I've put people off. But yeah, I should probably go and add an annotation to that. I think that's a good idea. It was very clear. I intend to use the simple world system, so I didn't care about the D&D part, but I think it's good enough to overlook basics. I only had one problem: how to handle daylight, since your human character couldn't see more than 5 feet. Yep, that's if I had to guess what people were going to have issues with, it was 100% the lighting thing. And just since you're here, I'll go oh yeah. Oh, okay, never mind. I won't waste time then if you saw the comment below and that made sense. But let's see, is there anything else? Any other assets we want to put in here? Oh yeah, fireplace would be nice. There we go. That adds a nice little cozy factor. Honestly, I was going to ask about that. I'm having a hard time getting a tavern to look good during the day. By having a tavern look good, do you mean in terms of the like line of sight of the players, or in the actual map, like when you're designing it? Because with either one, I would be happy to jump into either Foundry or DungeonDraft or something and try to clarify. Add some sacks. And yeah, the layer system in Inkarnate is definitely more enjoyable than the one in DungeonDraft. But like I said, I understand why the one in DungeonDraft is the way it is. The dynamic lighting looks all weird. It's hard to get daylight scenes to look good without using global illumination. Yeah. Yeah, and unfortunately there's not an amazing solution for that. Did I already place lights in here? Yeah, I placed a bunch of lights in here. Oh, yeah, and this still has the weird icons from before. Actually, let me just refresh. That'll fix it. Let's go to one of my scenes. I don't know where my normal tavern demo went, but that's okay. Oh yeah, I used global illumination here. So let's turn global illumination off. Up. Oh, I already have it off? Oh, it's just because I don't have a token selected that I can see everything. Okay. Yeah, so let's reset Fog of War. We'll start fresh. Oh, didn't mean to place that there. I thought I reset the Fog of War. Do I not have walls? No, I have my walls in here. I normally run the game out of... Oh, wait, no, that's just getting rid of all the light sources in the scene. I'm a dummy. There we go. I was clicking on the wrong thing. Okay, there we go. So, as I understood right now, it sucks, and we have to wait for light mask for buildings interior. Yeah, that is unfortunately a lot of what it comes down to. There's just not a good solution for it. I'm looking for this. There we go. It's hard to get to without using global illumination. Yeah, so if I wanted it to be dark in here, for example, but not outside, I think that's what you were saying you were trying to do. And before I start placing stuff, if you let me know if that's right, then I will go forward and show the other possible way of doing things, which is really just janky. Okay, yeah, so if we wanted it to be daylight outside, really the only good way, other than using global illumination, is to just place a bunch of, not even necessarily a bunch, but a couple really big lights. And then we can change back to our user. It's still dark in here, but when they go outside, they can see, but you get these kind of like areas where there's not overlapping light, where if we set this to be that, we'll just make all of them bright. Oh, I did miss a spot over here. It's rough if you have a bunch of different wall shapes that get in the way. But because you'll just need to keep placing them until you get, yeah, so once we've got, yeah, so it's all daylight out here, I think. And then let me make sure. Yeah, so all of the points out here are properly daylight. And then let's do that, which I believe will not actually do anything there, but right, okay, I'm sorry. I remember what I was what I should have done, let me get rid of all of these lights because I have led you astray. And I apologize. So if we place great big lights here and we set them to only apply above a certain threshold, like we set it to be 0.5. For some reason, my iPad thought I was talking to it. So we'll set that to that. Let's grab this here, update. And we're going to copy this light so we don't have to change that setting over and over. And this will place it wherever our mouse is pointing. So we can do that. And then we should have, I think, basically everything covered. And because we have transitioned to nighttime, it will make, because we've transferred to night, that means our darkness level is over 0.5. So this is turned on. But then if we come in and kind of counterintuitively transition to day, then I believe those lights, so those lights will go out. So if you set all of your lights for the outside to have apply over a certain level of darkness setting, then by transitioning to darkness, you can make it day. And by transitioning to day, you can make it night. I don't know why that's the way that it is. What I have recommended, and I've said this to Tropos, I think, is that the darkness slider should either start at 0.5 or it should go to 1.0 and to negative 1.0. That way 0 is a section where you can, and you should be able to set it to apply above or below a certain darkness. So I'm sorry for getting that confused at the beginning, but it's counterintuitive and I had to remember how to do it. Normally I just use global illumination, but this way does work. And this is something that I learned that I figured out for myself not that long ago and would make it into a new lighting video. So maybe I'll just do a new lighting video and be like, everybody, I solved it. I solved the issue of day and night. All you have to do is make day night and make night day. Easy peasy. Everything is solved. So that is a possible solution for you. You come in, boom, still darkness. And inside, it doesn't matter what you have the darkness or light set to, unless you also place lights in here. But then you can use kind of the same trick however you want. There. I feel like I posed something particularly useful here in this stream, which is normally what I am trying to do. It'd be nice if there was just a threshold action where you can choose if the light turns on or turns off above a certain level. 100%. Yeah, I agree. He brings us light and night. You know me. That is what I strive for, to be the light and the night. Okay. You know what? That may be it for me. I'm going to place a couple other random things in this section. And now that I've gotten something useful out, I should go out on a high note. And is there anything else I want in here? Big spinning blade of death. Every good tavern has one. There we go. Just a nice piece to draw conversation and complaints from the worker safety board. Okay, and with that taken care of, we'll just call it Tavern. Oh, I should have called it the Dun Inn. I literally already named it, but I forgot. But that's okay. I think that's going to be it for tonight. We made 4 good maps. 1 map that I still don't really know what I was going for. And that's fun. Showed off a whole bunch of stuff. Messed with some Foundry stuff. Just saw your tip about directional walls. I had no idea that existed. Yeah, directional walls are pretty slick. I actually just used those in another in a game recently. Where I should turn all of these sounds off so they do not. No, it wasn't this one. Calista. There it is. Let me pause all the music and sound effects that I used here. But I used directional walls here. This is, if you can see, there's a ladder coming up here. This is kind of an elevated loft area. So all of the players down here can't see up into this area, but players that are up here can see down into everything else because, you know, it's below. And that's super cool. I like directional walls a lot. And hidden doors are super easy. All the access you have access to right now are the free one or the pro one. I do have a pro account. It's $25 for the year, which is not bad, but it's frustrating when you have something like DungeonDraft or WonderDraft where it's $30 or $20 one time, you own it forever, commercial access. That's actually one thing that I should check. I don't know if you can use these assets commercially by default. Like if you could sell maps that you make with it. I feel like I read something about that at one point. Oh, it tries to take you Inkarnate RPG commercial maps. Nope. Inkarnate commercial license. Now offering a commercial license. If you would like to use Inkarnate maps in commercial work such as games or books, or if you would like to do paid map commissions, you may be interested in this license for independent first-time license. Oh, is this? Oh, this might just be old. Yeah, I'm not sure. I've just caught the last 20 minutes or so. Do you have plans to do a compare contrast with Inkarnate versus DungeonDraft, or should I just find the time to rewatch this stream? I do intend on it. It's going to be at least a couple weeks, probably. I'm going to try to do the Jitsi self-hosting video this weekend, and then hopefully the Foundry self-hosting video the next week. And then I'm going to kind of do an Inkarnate's Basics series, and I might just do an Inkarnate versus DungeonDraft, but I don't want to do that until at least Inkarnate's battle map styles are fully out, because it's not fair to them to try to compare a mostly released tool in DungeonDraft to their just released into beta tool, even though DungeonDraft is technically still in beta too. But I want them to at least have their wall functionality out before I start trying to compare and contrast them and telling people which one is better. Though at this point, I don't know that one of them is better than the other. They're just useful for different directions of things, depending on what you want to do. And I'll use both of them. I'll buy pretty much any map software that comes onto the market because I love making maps and I want a very specific thing a lot of the time. And they all have something unique that they can bring to the table. That's awesome. All right, this is a dumb question, but did you do anything special with your fonts in Foundry? The displayed letters that you have look a lot smoother. I didn't do anything to fonts in Foundry. I'm curious if you have a very high resolution desktop, like if you have a 4K or an ultra wide, because Windows is pretty crappy at handling font scaling and font rendering, generally speaking. Yeah, ultra wide. Okay, yeah, that's my guess, is that it's do fonts look bad in other applications for you, or is it just Foundry? One thing that may be worth checking is, I'm actually not sure if you can do it in the do you use Foundry in the application or in the browser? Because that could also have another. Let me move this real quick so I don't give away my IP address while I grab this. Yeah, so that could be, I never really noticed it, but maybe Foundry tries to stretch it a bit to fit browser. Yeah, so it might be worth checking if you've accidentally hit Control Scroll or something and zoomed in, or Control Plus. Like, just try hitting Control 0 to do that. I can't remember if there's any other specific Foundry settings for fonts. Configure settings. No, it doesn't look like it. And I would check maybe if you have any resolution scaling in either Chrome or in Windows settings. With Windows and fonts, it's a little tricky sometimes. Sometimes the resolution it's scaling to isn't like pixel perfect with what it was originally, and so you can get like jagged edges and stuff like that. I wish I knew more about. If you asked me 10 years ago, because I used to do IT work for a company that made custom design magazines, I could have told you a lot more about font rendering back then than I remember about it now. Now I just know that Windows kind of is annoying for it, and Mac OS, for better or for worse, in terms of its general OS, is much better about font and resolution scaling. Might also be a GPU thing. I think NVIDIA just released functionality not that long ago for integer scaling, I think is what it's called. That might be useful in some way. I'm not actually sure. It was mostly a thing for like old school gamers who like the 8-bit stuff, I think. I could be wrong. Thanks for answering so many questions. You've been really helpful. No problem. I'm happy to. And always feel free to post any comments on the YouTube channel, or find me on Discord or anything like that. And I'm happy to answer any questions that anybody's got. But now I am going to go crash. I've gone longer than I necessarily intended to. And it's also really warm. I got to go turn the AC on. So I will talk to everybody later. Hopefully I'll do another stream coming up soon. Probably more specific Foundry stuff and campaign prep and that kind of thing. Today was just kind of messing around with Inkarnate, which was super cool. And I would, like I said, highly recommend checking out, because you can try it for free. See if you like it. All that good stuff. And I will see everybody in the next one.